Okay, you can start.
Okay, my name is Álvaro Ilic. I'm going to present the research proposal I was working on this term, corresponding to the secondary context. The name is Comics and Vocabulary Acquisition. So, it all started with the internship experience carried out in Colegio Maryland, located in Puente Alto, in a 9th grade composed of 45 students. Well, the first thing that caught my attention at the moment I was in the classroom was that most of the students had a low level of English, and also a lot of them were exempted from the subject, and others wanted to get accepted too. So there was a lack of motivation, and also they were not participating in classes. So I noticed they didn't like English as well, and when I asked them why they didn't enjoy the class or why they were not willing to participate, they told me because they didn't like English, but only because they didn't understand. And so I asked them, I don't know, how could I impart lesson in a way that you can participate? And they told me, I don't know, we would like to understand words, maybe so it could be easier for us to learn the language. And I started thinking about that because I had to set as a starting point from which I should start working on my research. And I questioned myself, how would I like to taught if I were in their shoes? So I was attempting to find an innovating way to teach and learn English as well. So that was the starting point. So the idea of this was find an innovative teaching resource, but I didn't want to work particularly in motivation. I was to find a resource like a pedagogical tool. So comics came to my mind because I thought that reading was a really good skill to develop, but also it would be more meaningful if I could add some visual aspects and color, and of course including the interest of the students. What is the importance of teaching English from here? Ministerio de Educación in 2016 said that technology, communication, development, and social and cultural changes during the last 10 years have promoted the existence of a universal language, English, so they could understand and get to know different cultures and communicate in this global world nowadays. French in 1983 said that teachers working with beginners should include 3 types of things at the moment of impart lesson. The first one was including some visual aids. The second one was explaining words and meaning in the mother tongue if it's required, and also define the words using English, but simple English, not too complex. Also, Riggs in 2015 said that comics are so thin, so colorful, and just so enjoyable, the thinking goes that they can be good for you. In the past, most teachers avoided to use comics because they thought that it was like the negative part of reading, only because they had a leisure aspect. So that caught my attention too. And MacLeod, in 1994, this work would be quite deep, but I chose it because I really like it. Said that when we talk to a person, we can see this person in vivid details, but we have a mental image of ourselves, but not with vivid details. I don't know if I explain myself. So in that way, comics and cartoons as well could make students to feel represented by them. Did you understand that yet? Yeah. Okay, regarding these research proposals, deficiencies in knowledge, I noticed that there were a lot of resources available on internet, but most of them were carried out abroad and in a ESL context, not EFL or regarding the local context. So the purpose of the study was to contribute to the local educational field by presenting comics as a very useful teaching tool to teach English. So the research question was, does the use of comics increase the vocabulary acquisition of secondary students in a subsidized school in Puerto? And the general objective from it was to determine the use of comics, to determine if the use of comics increased the vocabulary acquisition of secondary students in a subsidized school in Puerto. From here, I had 3 specific objectives, which were the first one, use a pretest to measure the vocabulary a student managed by the beginning of this process. The second one was to use comics. Was to impart lessons by using comics. And the third one was to use a post-test to measure the vocabulary acquired by the student after the lessons with the use of comics, and to make a comparison between the results of the post-test and the pre-test. Regarding the methodology, the paradigm and approach, the paradigm is a positivist one, which means that I wanted to determine if there was an impact of comics on vocabulary acquisition. And the approach was the quantitative approach, because I want to measure it by using numerical data, numbers dropped by the results of the test. And regarding the design, it's a quasi-experimental design, because we want to make a comparison between the group of students at the